Susan, I think you're muted. Are you ready for us?
I'm here now. Yes, I'm ready for you.
Okay, we certainly want to welcome everyone to the Vinton Town Council meeting for this Tuesday evening, March 16th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. And by the way, I would also like to mention that Council Member Mike Stovall cannot be with us this evening. He has an important family matter to take care of. So with that, Susan, I'll ask you to call the roll and our official statement, please.
Okay, roll call of council. Councilmember Lyles.
Here.
Councilmember Mullins.
Here.
Vice Mayor McCarty.
Here.
Mayor Gross.
Here.
We do have a quorum of council, town staff that are present: Pete Peters, Susan Johnson, Ann Cantrell, Chief Drummond, Anita McMillan, and Nathan McClung. Also present, Jeremy Carroll, the town attorney, Debbie Adams with the Vinton Messenger, John Hull with Roanoke Regional Partnership, Courtney Rogers with Davenport and Company, Alex Hawk with Davenport and Company, David Hill with Hill Studio, and Tyler McDaniel with Hill Studio. I would like to confirm that our meeting is being held in accordance with Town Ordinance number 1016 and Section 4-0.01G of Chapter 1289 of the 2020 Acts of the Virginia General Assembly, and everyone present is participating by electronic means. Mayor, the meeting is yours.
Okay, thank you very much, Susan. And again, we want to welcome everyone. Might be tuned in on Facebook or whatever. Certainly good to have all of you with us. As usual, we will start with a moment of silence. Here in Vinton, we use a moment of silence so that everyone can pray as they see fit. During that time, if you decide to pray, and I certainly hope you will, I plan to, I would ask you to keep this country, this community, and this council meeting in your thoughts and prayers. And also this evening, a very special prayer for Councilmember Keith Lyles and his family and the loss of one of their family members. So if you folks would stand for a moment of silence, and we'll ask Councilman Lyles to have the Pledge of Allegiance while we're standing. Thank you. Thank you, Heavenly Father, for this day and for the country and community in which we live. We just pray that you'll be with us throughout the meeting and throughout the year. In Jesus, in his name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, folks. Appreciate that. And then we'll call on Vice Mayor McCarty for our upcoming community announcements and events.
Okay, I have several things listed tonight, so I'm excited to tell you what's going on in Vinton. We have our annual Clean Valley Day, which is scheduled for Saturday, April the 10th. It's from 9 a.m. until noon. We definitely need to have this Clean Valley Day. So Anita has asked us to get in touch with her by Friday, March the 26th to register. And then she can get team supplies. We can discuss other dates if the 26th doesn't. Is that a Friday, March the 26th?
No, the Clean Valley Day is Saturday, April the 10th. March 26th is the deadline.
Oh, you got, okay. Sorry, sorry, Nita.
That's fine.
So
That's
April the 10th. Okay, April the 10th is the Saturday. That's the day we have. from 9 to noon. And she would like for you to get in touch with her by Friday, March the 26th, so she can register the team and get supplies. As far as the Tinker Creek and Greenway cleanup, she's working with the City of Roanoke Parks and Recreation Department and Stormwater Division to coordinate a cleanup date sometime in late May. So she will let us know when she has that date. But as far as Saturday, April the 10th, Clean Valley Day, that will be in Vinton, and there were some areas that she noted that needed some attention: Walnut Avenue, Clearview Drive, Bypass Road, part of Washington Avenue, and Hardy Road. And of course, behind Pinnacle Bank, which my team will be taking care of that, and CVS Drugstore. So got a lot of people coming to Vinton now, so we want to make sure we beautify it as much as we can. So get in touch with Anita if you would like to do that. March the 29th, the municipal building will reopen to the public. March the 31st, domestic abuse awareness. This is the Pinwheel garden planting at the municipal building at 5:30. This is a really great event to attend. It's very can be emotional, but it in the garden always looks so pretty out front after we get through doing that. So if you can attend, that would be great. It's at 5:30 at the municipal building. I already mentioned the Clean Valley Day roadside cleanup. April the 23rd and the 24th is going to be the Dogwood Festival this year. The 23rd, there is a concert at the Farmers Market from 6 until 10 p.m. And then on Saturday, April the 24th, the festival is from 10 until 4. There's a car show at Vinton Baptist Church, Kids Zone at the Farmers Market lot. The crowning of the Queens at 12 noon at the municipal building stage. And then Saturday night, there will be at the Vinton War Memorial another movie night. So I don't know if you got to go to the movie night that we had before, but that is a really fun time. So that sounds like a couple of jam-packed days. So we're excited about that. And while I'm talking about that, I received an email from Mary Beth Lehman, who is the chair for the Dogwood Festival and parade. And because we can't do the parade the way we normally do it, she is asking the community to help with a spirit kind of week from April the 23rd through the 25th to decorate for walk-by and drive-by parades on Washington Avenue and downtown Benton, and encouraging folks to decorate during that time. She has a new email address. It's layman.dogwood@gmail.com. And her phone number is 540-529-7885. If you wish to participate or would like to volunteer. There have been some stuff that has been donated. She specifically stated that there's plenty of fabric donated by Precision Fabrics of Vinton. And they are also accepting new and used items, party props, silk flowers, floral wreaths, latex paint, just to name a few. She can give you more of a list of that if you're interested. So please do get in touch with her. She says the sky's the limit, and they've come up with several ideas that they included in this email. So she, we know Mary Beth from working with her with the town, and we know that she does an awesome job, and she seems to be very excited about this project. And I'm so glad that she is in charge of it and is going to be thinking of some new ways to celebrate our parade with the new normal, which we have learned has been fun. So when it comes to parades. So that is all I have, I think, unless you guys have something that I missed.
Can I ask you again what the date was for the domestic abuse at the garden?
Yes, it is the March the 31st. And we meet at 5:30 out there at the, right in front of the municipal building where we met to do the tree lighting and stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, and they provide the pinwheels and everything. It's really cool.
Okay,
Yeah, you're right, Sabrina. That can be kind of an emotional evening, but enjoyable at the same time. Certainly worthwhile. So, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. Anyone else have anything they would like to add to that list? No? Sounds like things are starting to kind of get back into spring and summer mode, despite all the pandemic or the way the pandemic has affected our activities. So it's good to see things start happening again. So the next item is a request to postpone or change the order of the agenda. Council, you have anything you would like to change? No? If not, we will move on to the consent agenda. It contains a couple items, as you can see tonight. The first is a resolution for the $1,175, and that's the funds for the Chamber of Commerce. That's a reimbursement actually for the Illuminates events. And then the resolution an amount of $468.40, and that's for scrap metal. As you know, we see that occasionally on our consent agenda. Are there any changes or additions to the consent agenda this evening? If not, we will entertain a motion to accept it as presented.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second Keith's.
Okay.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
second Keith's.
All right. So Susan, did you get it? I think that was Keith made the motion and a second by the vice mayor. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. And now we will move on to our awards and presentations. And this evening, we're very honored to have with us John Hall, someone who many of us have known for some years, and we've certainly appreciated his work. So John, first of all, we want to congratulate you, as certainly is in order. We'd like to congratulate you on your new position as executive director. I'm very excited. I know you're going to do a great job, and I'm sure you will be quite successful. And with that, John, we'll turn it over to you for the presentation this evening.
Thank you, Mayor. And Susan, it's appropriate for me to share my screen now. Is that right? I can do that?
Yes, sir. Go right
Okay.
ahead.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right. Thank you for the opportunity to be here and present to you, members of council, the work of the Roanoke Regional Partnership in 2020, as well as a look ahead to 2021 and beyond. I am John Hall. I'm the new executive director of the partnership. I appreciate the introduction very much, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
So some of you may not know me, although I've been at the Roanoke Regional Partnership for 10 years as Director of Market Intelligence. Before that, I was at the Roanoke Valley Allegheny Regional Commission for 7 years, where I started the Comprehensive Economic Development Program, among other projects. So let me tell you a little bit about my background and qualifications for the job. During my 10 years at the partnership, I've been involved in every facet of the organization, bringing research knowledge to bear upon direction and strategy. I have a 360-degree perspective on the organization. You may have seen some of my work on regional metrics and data. And in more recent years, I handled lead management. So I'm a graduate of Roanoke College and supplemented that by graduating from various industry programs in economic development and management. And I'm also a certified economic research professional. As background, you, the town of Vinton, give us $2.07 per capita. That's a rate that hasn't changed in 13 years. That money is matched by the private sector. So over the last few years, we've transitioned to using revenue generating events to supplement our public and private funding and to make the Roanoke Outside Foundation largely self-supporting, the Roanoke Outside work and so forth. In 2020, 6 of our events representing hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue were cut basically in one fell swoop with the COVID-19 pandemic. I just mentioned this so that as I go through the presentation, I hope that you'll keep in mind how we were able to carry on a full program of work amidst these devastating events. In March, as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, the Roanoke Regional Partnership immediately went into action together with its localities to do whatever we could to respond. Localities coordinated efforts and shared information. And we, as the Roanoke Regional Partnership staff, launched a regional resource webpage, Roanoke Region Response. By far the most popular page on our website, 5,000 visitors in the early stages of the pandemic. The page was constantly updated, including who is hiring and resources for employers and employees. We designed a business survey. The survey resulted in inquiries from local businesses, and we sent those inquiries directly to the Departments of Economic Development and local governments to follow up, provide assistance. Did a postcard mailing to all business license holders in every locality in the region, made them aware of the resources available and during the pandemic. The partnership also prepared progressive impact reports as we learned more information. We did unemployment and employment impact projections and analyses at the request of governments. Worked with Weldon Cooper as well as Chimera on some analyses to provide information to our local governments as the situation unfolds. We launched an incredible amount of social media content going out on our platforms for both Roanoke Outside, Roanoke.org, Get to Know Noke. Our Facebook traffic was up 8,000% as folks were weathering the early quarantine period in their homes. We organized a call every Tuesday with local departments of economic development, small business development group, workforce board, regional commission, and Visit Virginia's Blue Ridge, so we could share and learn from each other. And from those calls, we learned how we could work more cooperatively regionally on issues of economic development. For example, we helped the SBDC with an email to colleges and a social media promotion looking for volunteers to help with business counseling, as their staff was overwhelmed with requests. And lastly, we were the first region in the state to put together a webinar on opportunity zones, targeting investors, realtors, and others. We were a pilot for other communities and regions in Virginia. In spite of the pandemic, there was good news. Projects in the pipeline before the pandemic were able to proceed. We had 4 announcements in 2020, 2 new locations and 2 expansions. The region was fortunate to be able to demonstrate these results even in the pandemic economy. These announcements represented 440 new primary jobs and $46 million in capital investment for the region. While traditional activities such as travel, marketing events with consultants and trade shows were mostly all canceled, although we did see some virtual shows toward the latter end of the calendar year, we launched virtual engagement with consultants and brokers. And so the engagement that we had was much higher quality, fewer, albeit fewer number. Despite of the cancellation of those marketing events, we found that we had quite a bit of success in our outreach. By the end of the year, project activity was up over 2019. We actually had more projects and prospects. By definition, project is a business opportunity that we know exists. We have some information, and typically we've responded with information in kind, such as building or site submittals. A prospect is when that business opportunity actually visits live on the ground to tour the region. Okay. Project activity never actually fell off during the pandemic. Now, the prospect visits did fall off quite a bit during the first months, but I'll show you here just by way of a little bit of first 6 months versus last 6 months of 2020. We had a extremely busy latter half of the year as once the fall hit, prospect activity really bounced back and recovered. And so since the fall, it's been very busy for us with prospects and projects. I think companies by and large are looking beyond the pandemic as they're planning projects, 12 to 18 months out. 2020 saw a significant increase in larger site and larger acreage projects. By that, I mean 50 plus acres. Work by localities in the region to develop new site product is driving new lead activity, and communication of the good news is paying off. So we actually had a 300% increase over 2019 in those 50 plus acre leads. We had as many 50 plus acre projects in 2020 as we did in the 3 years combined before. So it was a significant year for larger projects. We did receive our third Go Virginia grant in the middle of the pandemic. The purpose of that grant is to support the medium and larger size businesses with counseling and understanding their needs in the pandemic. There's quite a bit of activity through the federal government and state government and through the CARES Act dollars for small businesses, not as much attention given to some of the larger and medium businesses. And so we organized some roundtables through Go Virginia in those sectors that Go Virginia targets, such as advanced manufacturing, food and beverage processing, healthcare, and more, with the purpose of discovering the challenges and opportunities that those businesses face. We're working on meeting those with coaching and facilitation. So the outcome this year is a long-term strategy for supporting these very important sectors that drive a great deal of economic activity, and understanding their needs in a pandemic as well as post-pandemic world. The second summer of our college intern program forced a pivot in how we connect students from across the state to the Roanoke region. We shifted our program online in the midst of the pandemic, which opened opportunities for more people to enroll. We tripled enrollment from the first year, had 150 college students and recent graduates in the 9-week program. We had a high number of students majoring in engineering, computer science, pre-healthcare, and business, and those STEM fields that are difficult to recruit from. So that was a great success early on. In May, we started a remote worker campaign. To take advantage of people who were not to take advantage of, but to promote to people looking for a safer place to live, promote this region and its high quality of life. The campaign, which is actually still running, helped us make a large number of contacts with people outside the region who may consider relocating because, frankly, their job allows them to. This is a strategy to address population growth as well as a means to build a workforce to meet the needs of businesses, particularly in the technology field. You might see as on the slide, we had quite a bit of success. Our top 5 locations were Los Angeles, New York, Philly, Atlanta, and DC. The top age demographic was the 25 to 34, the kind of younger professional. We spent $4,500 on digital marketing and resulted in almost 4 million impressions just last year. And I think we're likely over the $4 million number now as the campaign has continued. In terms of our outdoor promotion, this is an example, this alert popped up early on in the pandemic to help communicate. This is an example of how we used our Roanoke Outside channel to communicate important pandemic-related information. If you went there, you immediately received this pop-up, gave updates on safety, retailers, and access to outdoor amenities. Because if you recall, in those days, not everything was open. So, we put information out on what was available and what was not. There was a 200% increase in outdoor asset usage over this time. As for the last 12 years, Roanoke Outside is the channel people look for to get information on the outdoors. We've been implementing this strategy on developing and monetizing outdoor assets in this region for more than a decade. COVID made these assets more important and relevant than ever. And aren't we all glad that we positioned this region to benefit, in the outdoor investments that we've made. Project Outside is probably the best example of how the partnership pivoted and benefited the region in 2020. Major fundraising events, the Blue Ridge Marathon, Go Fest, and Go Cross, did not go on as scheduled. Go Fest, in particular, one of the most anticipated weekends of the year, had a much lower profile, small activities scattered around the region, and a socially distanced concert at River's Edge. Sponsors allowed us to keep the money, so to speak, and put it toward a fund for maintenance and development of outdoor assets. That money, concert revenue, and a community crowd-raised campaign raised more than $100,000. That has, the announcement went out yesterday on the number of outdoor assets that were supported throughout the region. So it's a drop in the bucket in some ways in terms of what needs to be done, but still $100,000 will make very tangible benefits throughout the entire region. I think benefits that will not go unnoticed. So that's a recap of the year, and I think you're most likely interested in where we're going together as a region as well. My vision is to have a proactive program of work that's responsive to trends and market needs to grow the economy of a small metro like Roanoke with big aspirations. It requires proactive strategic intervention, development of the outdoors, development of real estate, talent, innovation, and continued efforts in the outdoors are all needed and required to keep our forward momentum. We will be revising our 5-year strategic plan for the partnership to coincide with a new fundraising cycle. We'll be launching those strategic plan efforts very shortly. That plan will direct the partnership to intentionally engage, at least we anticipate, in the innovation space, while continuing to serve as the regional marketing and attraction agency. We will obviously continue in our talent efforts. We've seen a great deal of success there, looking at additional opportunities with remote workers and opportunities to support the technology employers here in the region. The outdoors as a unifying theme and asset of the economic development, livability, and tourism efforts requires a sustainable source of funding with the leadership of our governments in this region, and with the board of organizations like the partnership. I think we can tackle that issue together. Site development is not a one and done proposition. You're likely all aware of the Woodhaven Technology Park. The region needs to continue to foster and develop the right real estate to attract new employers and to support existing employers in the market. I think there will probably be opportunity in future years to look at additional investments in sites and or buildings. Finally, marketing enhancements such as new digital tools and greater utilization of platforms such as LinkedIn to get our message out to professional audiences like brokers, gatekeepers, consultants. We're going to double down on our marketing with the core mission of attracting jobs, investment, and new residents to the Roanoke region of Virginia. So the Roanoke Regional Partnership, along with governments such as yourself, we were all tested in 2020. I think we can say that we didn't miss a beat. We pivoted immediately, found new ways to contribute to success, and we'll continue to do that in 2021. I want to thank you for 38 years of support. And of course, I am pleased to answer any questions. And thank you for the opportunity.
Okay, well, John, thank you very much for that encouraging report. Council, you have any questions or comments for John? Again, John, we look forward to working with you as we have in the past. So we certainly look forward to continuing that relationship with the Roanoke Regional Partnership. You guys have always done a great job for us and actually for the entire region. So thank you for what you guys are doing.
Thank you,
folks
Mayor.
are doing. You bet.
Thank you.
You bet. Okay. If there are no questions or comments, then we'll move on to our public hearings for this evening. The first one is concerning the proposed granting of a lease to Cargill. And as per usual, I will open the public hearing. We'll have a report from staff and receive public comments, and then council will have an opportunity to ask questions or have any discussion they see fit. So with that, I will officially open the meeting, the public hearing, and turn it over to Mr. Peters for our report.
Good evening, Mayor Gross, members of council. As briefed during the March 2nd council meeting, Cargill Animal Nutrition, formerly known as Southern States Co-op, has asked to renew a lease for 8 vacant lots that are located on Railroad Avenue and 11th Street, which they use for tractor trailer staging areas as they wait to be loaded for future delivery. As you may recall, the town originally came into possession of these lots through a FEMA flood mitigation program where we acquired the properties and demoed the structures. And therefore, because of those grant funds used to acquire those properties, they have limited development potential, and the town actually cannot directly benefit financially from the lots. Cargill has been leasing the original 5 lots in 2004, and then in 2015, we added 3 additional lots to that. And I just wanted to mention that the town, again, can't profit from the lease revenue, so we donate all of the proceeds of the lease to the Vinton Needy Family Program. Staff is recommending that council consider authorizing the proposed lease agreements that you've been provided in your packet. And this includes all 8 lots. And the initial term will be for 15 months, which will get the lease agreement to align with our fiscal year and be consistent with other lease arrangements that we have with the Chamber, the Historical Society, and the Advancement Foundation. The lease would then be renewable for an additional 3 years, and Cargill will continue to pay $800 per year. And that will actually include the first 15-month term as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions you have, but I would respectfully request council consider the resolution this evening and authorize the town manager to execute the lease agreement with Cargill Animal Nutrition. Thank you.
Okay, Pete, thank you for that report. Susan, do you have any record of any public comments or questions?
No, Mayor, no requests or comments.
Okay, thank you very much. So council, it's your opportunity. If you have any questions for Pete or if you have any comments, now would be your opportunity to do so. Okay, hearing none, we will officially close the public hearing. Council, you have before you a resolution that would in fact authorize the lease agreement as we've heard described this evening by Mr. Peters. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept.
Okay. We have a motion by Vice Mayor McCarty. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Councilmember Mullins. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Thank you, folks, very much. Okay, our second public hearing this evening concerns the proposed issuance of bonds for capital improvement of the town's water and sewer facilities, and of course also cover the costs of the bonds. So I will officially open the hearing, and we will take a report from my staff, which this evening part of staff is Courtney Rogers from Davenport. So we are honored to have you with us, Courtney. Thank you for being here. After that, we'll receive comments and of course council discussion. So Courtney, it's all yours, sir.
Great. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, council members. Happy, I guess it's St. Patty's Day Eve.
Yeah.
And more importantly, is it March Madness Eve. So
Yes, you're right.
finally get some hoops after a year. I'm going to share my screen if I could here and give you a report. And I'm having to look over my other screen. So forgive me, I'm going to be looking at the other screen as I go through this. So as we talked back on February 16th, we went through our plan of finance to finance some utility system capital projects. And we talked about putting an RFP out for the funding of these projects issued through a direct bank loan. And we got that proposal out a few days later on February 19th out to local, regional, national banks. And we got those back in and would like to present the results to you tonight. As a reminder, projects that we're looking at are all 10-year amortizations. There are utility projects. You can see the upgraded meters system, the 3rd Street sewer lift station, and the SCADA upgrade totaling about $4.4 million. We also were considering refinancing whatever opportunities that we might have out there with interest rates still being low before they have started to increase a little bit. And we wanted to see if there's anything left out there. And what we found, we're going to be able to refinance the 2006A VRA bond as well as the 2013 bond. And we also looked at some revolving loan funds from VRA, the 03, 04, and 06. You can see that the various par amounts there. The interest rates you can see are in the 4 or 5% range for the 06A bonds, 2.85 for the 13s, and in the 3% range for the revolving loans. The 16 bond we looked at, and unfortunately, it was basically it was slightly negative, but it was basically a break even, so it didn't make sense to refinance it at this time. So we're going to leave that one out. I'm pleased to report that we did get some good bids and are going to be able to again refinance the 06A and the 13 bonds. The rates didn't come in as good for the VRA bonds. I mean, the Virginia revolving loans, which actually are handled through VRA. But we reached out to VRA and they said that they could actually lower the rates because of the type program. It's a revolving loan. And because rates have fallen, they have basically agreed to reduce the rates down to 1%. And the loan, the bids that we got from the banks were not that low. So we'll show you what the dollars mean here in just a moment. Our proposal that we sent out, we asked for two different options. One would be just a rate on the new money and just a rate on the refundings. Some of the refundings went out as far as 12 years. So that rate came in a little bit higher, as you can see, for our best rate there that came in from Zions. And then option two was combining them together. You can see the various banks that we received proposals from, 6 different institutions. Some gave us what we call bank qualified and non-bank qualified. That is basically if you issue less than 10 million in a calendar year, the banks get a tax benefit. And that's what we call bank qualified. And you can see, for instance, Bank of Botetourt, for them, the differential was 70 basis points, meaning they get a benefit when they file their taxes if they were able to loan this money to you. Whereas if you see Truist, the differential between their new money, for instance, was only 10 basis points. And that has to do, again, with their tax bracket and their individual tax situation. For Zions, they only gave us, they were basically, to them, it was the same rate, whether it's bank qualified or non-bank qualified. So we received the lowest rate in all 3 options, if you would, or the new money refunding on option 1 as well as the option 2 were the lowest. So what we did was we then ran the numbers both as an option 1 and an option 2. And no surprise, the new money came out a little bit better on option 1. The refunding came out a little bit higher. Net, when we ran them together as option 2, that actually came out as the better option between option 1 and option 2. And I'll show you the figures here in just a moment. So one other benefit that we did get from Zions is that their prepayment penalty, there is none. Essentially, if we need to refinance or if we have some additional funds left over from the new money, we need to pay the loan down, we can do that. Or if you have funds that come in, you decide you want to pay it down, you can do that before the final maturity. And also there were no bank fees associated, no legal fees associated from their bid. So when we looked at just the new money differential, essentially option 1 came out slightly better by about $5,000. And so from the new money standpoint, it made more sense to go with option 1. But again, once we flipped it to the refunding actually came in a little bit higher on option 1. I'll show you that in just a second. But I wanted to mention that when we went back and looked at what we had, our planning rate of 2%, the bid basically was 30 basis points lower, which is great. And that basically lowered our overall payments on just the new money alone by about $55,000. So we were pleased that we were able to come in under our estimates. On the refinancing savings, and again, this is just the 06A and the 13s, doesn't include the revolving fund yet. You'll see we've saved $75,000 on option 1, but it came in at $83,000, or about $8,000 better on option 2. So when we combine the two together, Option 2 came out better by about $3,600. So that's our recommendation, is to do basically one loan rather than two separate loans at two different rates. I wanted to, again, go back to that revolving loan savings. When we ran those numbers at 1% versus those 3% numbers, we're able to lower the interest rates by a total of almost $90,000. So the only fees that are going to be needed there is they have legal fees totaling basically $4,500 or $1,500 per loan for their lawyers to basically draw up the updated document. So so net, we're saving over $80,000 there, which is fantastic. So our recommendation is to accept the Zions Bank option number 2. That would be basically the 166 rate for refinancing the 06As and the 13s, as well as the new money projects. Accept the 1% revised rate from BRA. Some of the rationale there is, of course, it's the lowest rate that we got. It's a little bit better cash flow when we combine everything together. And one loan will be simpler than having two different loans. It is a fixed rate for the entire period to the final maturity, which is great. And that rate is basically locked in between now and closing. There's no floating rate between now and closing. As I mentioned, the prepayment, there is no penalty. We can prepay at any time, no bank closing costs. And that 1% rate from VRA was much better than any of the banks we got, any of the bids we got from the banks. So from this point forward, what we would need is, obviously we're holding a public hearing now, and then have you all consider the adopting the authorizing resolution. Mr. Mayor, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Okay. Thank you very much for that presentation. It was very thorough. We appreciate that. Susan, have you received any requests concerning this item?
No requests for comments, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Council, it's your turn. If you have any questions or any comments, now would be the appropriate time. I would remind you that this is the information that you received concerning the revised resolution that Susan sent to you. I guess that was earlier today, I believe, right, Susan?
Correct.
Oh, yeah. So, Council, that's the information we would be considering. And also, perhaps I should issue my usual disclaimer for anyone that might be attending this evening. Council is very familiar with these items by the time they reach this point. We've usually received several information and briefing sessions. And as I say, by the time we get around to the official public hearing, we're quite familiar with the items that are listed on our agenda. So I wouldn't want anyone to think that, well, we just come across this item and automatically vote to go along with it. This item in particular is really, we've really been around the barn, so to speak, with this item quite a bit, because it does involve a lot of funds, obviously taxpayer funds. So we want to be careful and thorough about the process, and we have been. And so, Courtney, we appreciate your help, and certainly Ann in our finance department has kept us informed every step of the way. And it's a very involved and complicated process, even though this evening it may seem like one neat little package. There's a lot of work that goes into this. So I just want everyone to be aware this is not something we just automatically blow off. Council, if you have any comments or any questions? No?
Thanks for the hard work and all of the looking to reduce the interest rates.
Yeah.
It's amazing. When I'm just asking a question, they're like, "Oh, we'll lower your rate."
Yeah.
Well, they don't want to lose a good customer, maybe. So.
Well, we had to get them involved anyway, so it was good to catch up with them, and it was great news. We did the rate that we just, for everyone's record, the piece associated with those are shorter loans, and I think we had a 120 rate was the rate that came in from the bank. So It was about 20 basis points higher. So it wasn't the 166 because again, that was a shorter amortization than the other refundings that we're looking at. But still,
All
we'll
right.
take 1% any day.
Yeah, oh, yeah, yeah, you bet, you bet. Okay, council, any other comments or questions? Hearing none, we will officially close the public hearing. Council, you have before you a resolution that would in fact approve the issuance of bonds as we've heard described here this evening. Is there a motion? But first of all, any questions or comments? Okay, sorry, Keith.
Oh, you're good. I'll make a motion to accept the revised resolution.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilmember Lyles. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, we have a second by Councilmember Mullins. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Okay, thank you, council. And thank you, Courtney, for
Yes, sir.
that presentation and all the hard work.
Thank you. Congratulations, everybody.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Okay. Night.
All right. Next item is citizens' comments and petitions. And this is reserved for anything that's not already on the agenda. Susan, again, have you received any requests or comments in your office?
No comments or requests to speak, Mayor.
Okay. Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, I do not see anything listed under town attorney. I'm having a difficult time this evening, folks. Sorry. Nothing listed for the town attorney, but always good to see Jeremy in his cool looking ties. So,
Man, good to be here.
yeah, thank you for being here. We appreciate that. And with that, we will turn it over to the town manager. Pete, it's all yours, sir.
Thank you, Mayor Gross. We have two briefings this evening. Rather than do the introductions of the actual items, I'm going to introduce the staff, change of pace. The first briefing this evening will be presented by the town's principal planner, Nathan McClung. Nathan, it's all yours.
Thanks, Pete. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Tonight for the presentation, we're going to be going over the town of Vinton's request to rezone the property at 350 and 0 Gustings Boulevard, the Gish Mill property from M1 into MUD. Before I start the presentation tonight, I wanted to make a slight correction to many of the documents. The address is 350 Gustings Boulevard, not 305, which was shown on a lot of the documents. And that, of course, will be corrected in the newspaper and also will be corrected in the public hearings to come. So before I get started with the PowerPoint, we have we're joined by actually one of the members of the development team, David Hill, and also one of his staff. So David, did you want to give a quick quick introduction before we get started?
Sure. I believe most people in Vinton know me. I'm David Hill, president of my day job is Hill Studio, planners, landscape architects, and we worked with Vinton on a number of initiatives in the past, very successful initiatives, and as one of the outcomes of one of the initiatives that we worked for you was that the idea that we might renovate the Gish Mill, and so I went to my long-term friend and colleague Dave Trinkle, who you might also know, and we put together a proposal and advanced it to the town of Vinton, and I'll just tell you going in that it's not an easy project. It's a pretty complicated project, and that the Nathan and Anita and Pete and just everybody else that's been a part of this is just been extraordinarily just interested and done an extraordinarily good job with this. It's really a model for every public-private partnership that I've ever been a part of. This one is so far gone really, really well, and I really appreciate Vinton being totally in on this. Also joining me maybe a little bit later to help us through some of the technical parts is Tyler McDaniel, who is a sort of a rising rock star student at Virginia Tech. I don't mind telling you this. Tyler's very interested. He started the Preservation Club at Virginia Tech. Is very interested in historic buildings, and so the Gish Mill has provided a really good a good beginning project that is full of challenges for him. Thanks, Nathan.
Yeah, thank you, David. So I'll go ahead and share the screen with the PowerPoint. The PowerPoint will aid us tonight, but the conversation can, of course, go beyond it. Before getting into the present day, we all know the significance of the Gish Mill property. It's the founding structure of the town, and it's so important that it's actually on the center of our town seal, as you can see on this opening slide. Before the town was even chartered in 1884, the area was actually called Gish Mill. It was a part of Roanoke County before 1884. The gill was estimated to be in operation early 19th century, and it is recently deemed eligible to be put in the National Register of Historic Landmarks. And the reason why, I mean, with its historical significance, it was in continuous operation until 2014 when the Holdren Country Store shut down and shut their doors. And because of that, the town purchased it, and you know, they didn't want it just to sit there and deteriorate. They wanted to have an active use later on. So as Dave was talking about, an RFP was issued in 2019, and the Gish Mill Davai group responded with this creative idea of converting it into a mixed-use development, which we'll be hearing about tonight, with multiple different uses. We're currently under a contract of sale between the town and a development team. So the town is the owner of the property, and we're also the petitioner for this rezoning process for these properties. Of course, the property is currently vacant, and the proposed land use would be a mixed-use property that will accommodate a restaurant, a retail component, residential, and lodging uses. Backing up here just to cover the nature of this request. Since the contract of sale, a lot's happened in terms of trying to find state granting opportunities. The town is in the process and is working with both DHR, the Department of Historic Resources, and DHCD with 2 grant funds. The first being the DHR Emergency Supplemental Historic Preservation Fund. These funds were allocated to help repair and stabilize structures that were damaged by hurricanes Michael and Florence, and that funding is up to $250,000. The second grant fund, which is administered in the form of a loan through the EDA, is from the Industrial Revitalization Fund for $468,750. On March 5th, one of the major crucial steps after historic designation was to prove that the improvements that are being proposed will not cause a single inch of rise in the base flood elevations. So March 5th, we received word from our consultant, Draper and Associates, that the H&H study proved successful and that this property will not cause a no-rise, will not cause a rise in the flood levels in any way. Today, the notification letter was sent out to the adjoining property owners, and some upcoming events to be aware of is that the Planning Commission will be receiving the same presentation March 25th. We're seeking a floodplain variance process on March 30th, and then April 6th we'll convene together again to host this public hearing on this work session. Some basic information. I think we all know where the property is located. And now that we have the addresses correct, we know exactly where the property is located. But it actually is 2 parcels, and these 2 parcels are located within the town of Vinton. There is a third parcel, a part of the contract of sale, but that's actually in the city of Roanoke. And the town actually owns a lot of the parcels along Glade Creek on the Roanoke City side of Glade Creek. It's a level lot comprised mostly of impervious surfaces with the structure and the pre-existing parking lot. In relation to its special and historic function of being a mill, of course, It's located both within the regulatory floodway and the 100-year floodplain. The site can be accessed from West Madison Avenue and Gus Nix Boulevard, and eventually, with the upcoming Glade Creek Phase 2 completion, it'll be accessed via the Greenway. In conjunction with the Greenway to get across Gus Nix, the town has been successful in attaining regional funds to complete a crosswalk project that will connect the Greenway parking lot to this development site. Reviewing the adjacent zoning and land uses, to the north, of course, is a creek, and across the creek is the Roanoke City side. To the west is a zoning district that was already rezoned to MUD in 2016, which is the Billy Bird Apartments and the future annex building, which will be a future business flex space. Southeast of the property is M1 Limited Industrial, which is what this property currently is. And that property located across West Madison Avenue is Chalane's and also Sable & Signs. And you can see from this map, the red highlights showing the parcels with the adjoining spaces and their zoning designations. This map shows, just the extent of where it is located in the FEMA floodplain, in the 100-year floodplain. The hashed marks show the actual floodway, and the blue areas is the 100-year floodplain. So the property is fully encompassed within the floodplain area. But as we'll speak of here later, we'll show the way that the developer is not taking the floodplain aspect lightly, but is assessing these risks and creatively designing the building using the most contemporary modes of architecture and engineering techniques available to properly anchor things such as the deck and to implement dry and wet floodproofing techniques throughout the building. As I mentioned earlier, there's a no-rise certification that we got from Dave Braden. And also on March 30th, the floodplain variance process. Usually our BZA is not used to hearing with matters related to the floodplain. This will be the first time that the town has pursued this option of a variance for the floodplain ordinance section. And the first major thing, in order for even any kind of improvements to take place, would be for the structure to be historical. That's the big box that's already been checked because it's been preliminary determined for individual listing. The next step is to specifically grant variances to the property and the allowance of it not having to follow rules such as elevating the structure above the base flood level, and other things that would destroy the historical nature of it, and also just wouldn't be impractical for this project. But the number one goal, of course, is public safety, and so both the town staff and the development team have that as their chief goal throughout this project. These pictures show the current condition of the property. It is blighted, and it would meet that state code definition of blight. This is a view from the front parking lot. This is a view from the first 1940s addition to the east of that original court square structure of the mill. This is the next 1940s addition. This is inside the basement, which we mentioned later. This space is intended to be utilized as well. You can see that's the mill apparatus that would actually be powered by the water mill on the other side of that wall, which is the creek. These are the second and third floors. There's major damage to certain aspects of the floor. It appears they needed to have a hole for equipment or some kind of equipment to run or to be hoisted. This is on the creek side. It's the sluice or the race that the water would go down to power the wheel. And then this is a view of the dam behind the mill. And additionally, Roanoke City is currently undertaking a stream bank restoration project along a large extent of Glade Creek, which will benefit both the town and the city sides. And there's even going to be improvements on the other side of the bank across from the start now. So with that, and I'll return later with things pertaining to staff recommendation and final notes about the zoning. Now we can get into the fun part of the presentation and actually analyze the proposed redevelopment. And David, do you want me to just to drive the slideshow, and then if we need to jump out into that 3D model at the end, we can do that?
Sure, that'd be fine.
All right, just let me know I need to move ahead.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's see what the next one is, Nathan. Yeah. Okay, so Nathan, you want me to take these?
Yes, sir.
Okay, sure, that'd be fine. Okay, well, really coming out of some of the work that we had worked on in 2018 for the town of Vinton, where people had come and commented on a number of the concepts that we had developed for the town. We're going to propose a multi-use space in this mill, and in fact, it may be the one that maybe most closely merges with the MUD zoning because it has so many different uses in the very same building. So what we'd be proposing is a small restaurant, a seasonal market. Down in the basement where Nathan showed you those great big old mill wheels, we'll have a speakeasy down there, and then the old concrete silos, especially, and in the upper floors of the old original mill, will be turning into units that can either be lodging or apartments. The original, well, the first use of these will be VRBO units or lodging units. They're also built so that they can be used as apartments, but there seem to be plenty of apartments in Vinton right now and not many lodging units. So we're going to try to make that go first is into lodging units. Also, it's important, part of the mill, and you can see this kind of pictures that Nathan showed. You really kind of have to look beyond what it looks like today to imagine what it might be able to look like tomorrow. Using some of those really nice utilitarian forms that were built by millers and people like that. And part of it is to kind of back up and look at the mill's relationship to the stream. There's a beautiful stream going by there, and we've been able to design a great big deck that would go on the back of it, where you could walk right through the mill and out onto this great big deck, where we'd have dining outside and a patio space, and we'll be able to use that historic sluice as part of the dining area. I believe we have some pictures to show. So regarding square footages, the restaurant, as it says here, about 5,030 square feet. The market, about 1,250 square feet. The speakeasy, 1,296. And then we have about 5,800 square feet of the lodging and potential apartments. And an outdoor dining space, about 3,564 square feet. And we'll show you that on the plan. Okay, this plan, what we've been able to do is to merge together a number of documents. So it's a little busy looking, but we have the architectural plans, we have the landscape plans, and we've merged these with Vinton's greenway plans, and then finally the Roanoke City Streamway restoration project. So a lot to look at here. We believe that the property lines, and we will have this survey, but we believe the property lines are the ones that show up in the dark dashes. So you can see there's a good amount of land, not only on the Vinton side, but across the stream on the Roanoke City side. We believe the mill would have owned this because they put in the dam. They had to own both sides of the stream to have that. So there's some interesting land on both sides. And if you look here, let's see, I don't know if you probably can't see my cursor, but Nathan, you might be able to show people how the greenway works with the project. There you go. You want to take the wheel and explain that?
Yeah, so with phase 2B being slated to be completed and having the ribbon cutting in April, that will be completed before the crossbar. But while when the crosswalk is completed, people will be able to go from this side of Gus Nix over to the property. And additionally, down here is the Billy Bird apartment. So those individuals and other individuals on the Greenway will be able to safely access the Gitcher Mill site. And that crosswalk is really important for the project to get people safely across, because there really isn't another means that's controlled.
And then eventually, we have a way that the walkers can turn right and walk up the sidewalk on Gus Nix Boulevard, and then take a left and walk down and share our property there for a little bit, and then go on up the stream if the town wants to eventually, run the Greenway link up that way. So the parking on our site generally develops the existing parking lot that's in place. It just makes it more organized, so we can have parking for visitors and for, you can see several places where we have handicapped parking shown. And then we're also proposing a minor, there you go, minor improvements to this area, which is just east of our project, that we can put a few additional paved parking spots with project monies. Also on this plan, you can see there's one part of the mill that will be removed, and it's the triangular space. It's actually the most recently built piece of the mill, but it's probably the piece that's in the worst shape. And so we'll be removing that part of the building, leaving the concrete slab. And from that slab, as Nathan is showing you, it has 3 red umbrellas shown on it, for example. You can walk onto the deck there in the back, and the deck is this brown structure that Nathan's showing you. It has a bunch of other umbrellas on it, all the way around the mill. And then the final part is right here where he's showing you, which is the sluice, which will be developed into an area for seating as well. So I believe we probably, you can also see the trees that were picked up by the survey by the Roanoke City stream bank. We'll have a lot of the trees that are there, and we'll have some stream bank stabilization going on both on our project and but a lot more with the accompanying Roanoke City project. Nathan, should we move on into the floor plans a little bit?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Let me get off of.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe I'm sorry to interrupt, but do we have the floor plans maybe later? So I tell you, we'll go through these first, and then we can go into the floor plans. Okay. So what you'll probably remember about the mill, this is looking sort of from the air, maybe over about the Gus Nix Bridge over the railroad. So the little triangle that's nearest us is the part of the mill that is removed, and you can see that's kind of turned into a deck. Then you can see all along the front side here facing Gus Nix Boulevard, the parts of the mill that you see the most as you're driving down the road. That sort of little brick cube is in the middle. That's the earliest part of the mill. And then to the left of it are the old silos that are there. What we find curious about the mill, you may not see this if you're driving along Gus Nix, but you can see it here. There's an area that is, say, above the old loading dock. There's a great big area that was developed. It's triangular in nature, and it shows a place where we'll be using to move into the building and up the stairs and into the historic mill. And so we've shown a little addition on the second floor there, and it's hidden behind this old false facade that was on the front. And so we can work with the Department of Historic Resources, and we're working with them so they'll allow us to do this. And this grants a safe fire entrance and exit from the old mill that doesn't bother some of the existing structure inside. Let's see. Yeah, and here's a couple of images from the other, this is from the other direction, sort of above the baseball field looking that way. And you can see the deck on the back with its, railing there. Next picture shows it on the stream side. And you can see the sort of large deck and the silos there. We'll be placing, that where the cursor is the sluice, which has a new roof proposed over it. And you can see a lot of the garage doors that are proposed on the back of the mill. These are, of course, they're not for cars, but they're just to open in good weather so that people can flow from inside the building out to the deck. And you can see a little service bar out there as well. Okay. This shows that as well. Yeah, this is pretty good. So right here at the edge of that deck, you'll be right over the stream. Right over the edge of the stream, so you can sort of enjoy the stream going by. There's probably a good place as any to mention that. Well, I think we'll see this in a section in just a minute. We'll see a little bit more of that. Here you can see that little addition that we're proposing on the second floor, and that's where we can get people safely into the upper levels of the mill. Okay, next picture. Okay, if you back up, okay, yeah, that's fine. This illustration shows the deck that's in the back. You can see sort of lift up glass garage doors, bar and tables and things like that that are out there. And you can also see in the background that little addition. I just keep kind of bringing you to that just to point it out. And the oldest part of the mill, of course, is made out of brick, and that's what we'll be keeping with a renewed metal roof and renewed wood siding up on the upper floor. Okay. This shows some of the creative work that we need to do on the inside. They built that mill. They were kind of interested in storing things in it, and so they have these enormous braces on the columns, and so we've been able to kind of effectively incorporate those into the places like the bar, and you can see tables wrapped around them. So because you conk your head in there, so we want to make sure that we have a few concussions for our customers as possible as we entertain them in the mill. Okay. And I'll tell you, if you don't mind, maybe go back one, Nathan. The other thing about this is, believe it or not, the floodplain, 100-year floodplain, is about the height of the doorknob over there, on there. So we have to design the mill in a way that brings electricity down from the top. And so even in a flood, the electrical circuits won't be hurt. And we put the air conditioning things, for example, up on the roof hidden so that they won't get hurt. And we just got to know that every now and then we're going to have a big flood in here, and it's going to make everything muddy, and we're going to have to just take it all outside and wash it off and bring it back in. It's just, if you live next to the creek, you just got to deal with that. So we're trying to design for it going in. There'll be a number of vents that are provided in the building to let water in and out, et cetera. And we're really working pretty hard on how to do a really model floodplain design. Okay, next one, Nathan. Okay, this shows the floor plan of the building, and you probably, let's see, we can go in at the front entry right there, Nathan. That's where most people will go. Over to the right, there's a double door, and most people will go right into the mill right there. And so, and that's the principal dining area. That's when we just saw the picture of the bar and the seats. And there's and from there, you'll see over to the right is restrooms, and then a kitchen, and then a market, and then the old triangular patio out there. Now, what Dr. Trinkle is very interested in is the part of the kitchen that will be featured here is where you'll be able to watch people cooking food. This is a very sort of public, open kitchen, and so that'll be where you'll see a lot of the cooking going on. But then there's a part of the building way over on the left end, which is called back of house. That's where the refrigerators, dishwashers, and all those kind of things that are normally associated with the kitchen, they'll be in here. And this will be part of the building that is super hardened against floods, because that's where a lot of the expensive stuff is. So it kind of has more similarities to a submarine than it does to the open air kitchen that you see other places. And then there's a small screen-in porch here, just out of the back of house. We might use that sometimes in the summer. And then the old cube in there, that's the old historic part of the mill, and that'll also be developed for dining. And that has a lot of the old pulleys and things like that in it. I think it'll be really interesting to be in there. And then over to the left, you'll see the VRBO units. Each of those is accessed from the outside on the stream side. So they'll be entered there. And then finally, there's a stair set just to the right of the open vestibule in the very front. And that's the stairway that gets people up into the second floor addition to get into the mill upstairs. Next picture will probably show that one even better. Well, okay, we'll take you down the basement first. The speakeasy is down in the basement, and that's really the idea. Of course, now that's not only 4 feet under the flood waters, that's like 20 feet under the flood waters, and so this is going to be very styled to be a simple concrete floor, very simple place that can be it sort of has a very unique character in it because of the old it has stone walls inside. And so we can even get handicapped access into the speakeasy. Is a very complicated route, but it kind of circles around outdoors and goes under the sluice and gets into this door that you see O2 over here. It'll also have communicating stairs back up to the restaurant. Okay, next picture, Nathan. Let's see. Okay, this is, we've jumped up to the second floor now, and you can see on the stairs that I've been continuing to talk about, they bring people up and into the second floor, and you have a unit on the front and a unit on the back in the cube. And then from there, a new stairway that goes up to the third floor. And then over on the left, you're seeing these 3 units that are built in the old silos. We believe the concrete walls of the silo is going to provide a particular challenge. And so we'll be sawing through those to develop different rooms. You'll see spiral staircases going from the bottom to the top. They're pretty dramatic. Okay. Next picture. Okay, this is the third floor. And so, we're seeing less and less of the mill developed. You're seeing lots of roofs below. But in the third floor, we also have 2 units, one on the front and one in the back. And then there's also a little, it's kind of subtle, but you can walk from the top of the steps on the third floor into what used to be the light well of the over the silos. And so there'd be just sort of a little reading room there, which could be quite beautiful. You're way up in the air, you can see the stream from there. And then you're also seeing the upper parts of the VRBO units in unit 1 and 2 there. Okay, let's see what's next. Okay, this is one of the illustrations I think that is quite interesting, and you can see here the on the left you're seeing the circular stairways in each of the silos that goes bottom to top. They go up 3 stories in some of the silo VRBO units, and then you're seeing the lowest room, of course, is the speakeasy, and then the dining room above it, and the dashed line there that indicates 100-year flood, which is it's pretty significant, but because of the historic significance of the building, it's probably one of the only buildings that you would ever want to develop that would have a flood in it like that, but we're just going to have to deal with it if you want to develop this historic treasure, and just have to be conscious of it and not put a lot of valuable antiques where they might get wet. Okay, next image. Sections look in the other direction. And then, and so you can kind of see all the different rooms in relationship to each other here. Nathan, am I leaving out anything that we ought to bring up?
No, I think that covers everything.
Okay. And one of the things we can do with Tyler is, if you want to look in more detail, we can kind of turn on the model and kind of fly around inside. Okay.
Definitely. I can stop my screen share.
Well,
and
okay.
Give him
Well,
the
we
right
can do that later if there are questions, if you prefer.
Yeah, we could do it at the end.
Yeah, that way you can keep going with the zoning that I think is probably really important.
Okay. Yeah. So thanks, David, for that walk through the building. So with the comprehensive plan, based off the UDA 2016 updates, this property is designated to be general commercial. So is the Shalene's and Save on Signs property to the east of it. And of course, the Billy Bird Apartments and the Roanoke County properties to the west have already been rezoned to MUD. So what the staff conclusion, of course, is the approval of this proposed rezoning from M1 limited industrial to mixed use to accommodate the restaurant, retail, residential, and lodging uses. We believe the redevelopment will really help preserve and save this treasured property that if it doesn't have an adaptive reuse, it really will remain derelict and will lose a major piece of our history. And beyond the historical significance, also it's going to bring a lot of economic vitality to our community, increase economic investment. Wanted to mention that the property will generate private investment in excess of 1.9 million and establish the creation of 41,000 jobs. Its location on one of the 4 main gateways entrances into the town is also significant. This portion of Gus Nix Boulevard sees, based on VDOT traffic data, sees about 21,000 vehicles a day. So it's a very busy corridor, and it's one of the first properties that people see when they are entering Benton from Roanoke City. We see that there's not going to be an adverse impact on adjoining properties, and it actually will enhance the neighborhood and enhance this corridor significantly. Adequate utilities and public facilities are already in place to serve these proposed end uses. So going off the success of both Roland E. Cook and Billy Bird Apartments becoming part of the MUD zoning district, we recommend this rezoning and believe it'll be another benchmark success. And especially with it being historic, the historic tax credit programs and the coordination of local government incentives and other state government grant funds will allow this project to remain a success. And of course, with all the private investment that's coming from the development team being the most crucial part of this, and the creative minds behind the development team. So with that, we have questions. And did y'all want to see the model first, or do you want to ask questions now?
Council, you have any questions or comments? No? I guess we can proceed, Nathan.
Oh, that's fine. We'd really just had the model in case there were questions. We could kind of go into a deeper level.
Okay. Well, I just like to say I think that this is really, really exciting. I heard you guys use the term historic treasure there a couple of times, and that's exactly right. That's certainly what this property is. It has a lot of history and means a lot to our town, and that's one reason council made the investment to purchase the property because we did want to see it preserved. So it's really exciting to see you guys take on this project, and happy to have David, you and Dr. Trinkle both in town working on this project. Obviously, you guys have taken an innovative approach and done a lot of out of the box thinking there, and it's just, I think it's unique. I don't know if there's anything else like this here in the valley, so it's really exciting to see this. And obviously the investment doesn't hurt the town either. So so far it's just been a win-win situation, and just as I say, very excited to see this thing move along the way it has. So thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
As I say, that's a lucky piece of property. It's got the nice creek behind it, and it's getting some work done on the creek. There's an addition of a greenway coming around the property, and now it's even going to have its own David Hill. Yeah, full of greenway and a creek, and it all gets hands. Can't wait to see it, David. Always, it looks great. Your work is awesome.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, yeah, you always do a good job. And Keith, you hit the nail on the head. I can't wait to see it. It's
Yeah.
exciting. Yeah. So, okay, good job.
Thank you very much.
Nathan and David, good job. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Mayor Gross, I'll just add one quick or a couple quick comments. We'll be bringing forth to council in the month of April and into May, several rounds of contracts for council's consideration, some of which are to pass the IRF funds on to the project, to solidify the performance agreements, and some of the economic development incentives that will be required to provide some financing to meet the gap between what's available privately and what we're able to have in the grants. So you'll be hearing a lot more about Gishas Millers in the next several months.
That was great. Bring it on.
Well,
Mr.
even
Mayor,
though-
if
any
I may.
questions? Sorry.
I'm sorry, may I? Just to let town council members know that in addition to the rezoning, the proposed redevelopment also have to get a variant from the Board of Zoning Appeal because the fact that the property is in the floodway, in the floodplain, and we are community rating system. And in order to maintain our good standing with the National Flood Insurance Program, this project will have to go to variant process.
Okay. Okay. So we still got
I know
work to do. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Keith.
I know we didn't have any questions, but I'm really wanting to see that model still, though.
Right.
Yeah.
So Tyler, you want to give them a thrill ride for just a minute and kind of show them what this is? And while Tyler's setting this up, I'll tell you that one of the dangers of this model is that it looks like it's more thought out than it really is. We build a test model and then we try out a lot of different things. And in this building, since there's not a straight line in it, it's really interesting to show this way to really understand it. And so, a lot of the things that you see, if you go in there a year from now and it doesn't look exactly built the way the model showed, it's because it's a model. It's meant to kind of capture the big idea and let us test things. So I hope that's okay. A disclaimer: it might not look exactly like this when it's finished.
Cool.
But yeah, Tyler's got this all figured out, and Tyler, one of the most interesting things I think that may not be real obvious when you look at it is the how the silos are all kind of sliced up and used. And so one of the things that he's got is you can kind of take a tour of your VRBO room over there in the silo. You come in the door down at the bottom, and then especially because the lower part is really subject to potential flooding. Nobody is allowed to sleep in the lower part. That's where you store your bike or your kayak or your inner tube, and then you kind of walk on up the stairs into the living quarters of each of these things. And so this also helps us to kind of slice the building in different ways and look inside. So Tyler will go show you what one of those looks like. Yeah. And so, this might be a handy tool as we have discussions with the building officials and also zoning to kind of show everybody different parts of the building. So it's there if you need it, and that's just kind of a little introductory, and we'll continue to build different pieces of this and be able to show it this way. So Tyler, is there anything else you want to show right now, just to give everybody an introduction? Tyler might be muted. No, okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Awesome,
Yeah, that's cool.
awesome. Very nice, very nice.
Well,
Wow.
thank you, David and Tyler, for being here. Nathan, thank you for this report. And if Mayor, if it pleases you, we'll move on to the next item, which is a
Thank
presentation.
you.
The briefing that Ms. Ann Cantrell will provide. Thank you.
Okay,
Good evening, Mayor, members of council.
evening.
All right, so we have before you a briefing for the general fund balance reserve policy, or what we would like to rename as the general fund unassigned fund balance policy. And so tonight I kind of wanted to go through with you some of the changes that I would recommend to this policy, maybe some of the thoughts behind those changes. And it is about time. When I checked the bottom of this policy, it looks like we last took it to council November 7th of 2017. So I think it's a good time that we're bringing it through during the budget process. One of the first things we changed was the purpose of the policy. Although we didn't necessarily change the purpose of the policy, I just kind of took a step back and reworded it here and added a certain component, because it said it was intended to basically insure the town against disasters, emergency, and unforeseen expenditures. And yes, that's true. But we also want to add in there that it's also supposed to help us maintain a stable tax rate so that we don't have to do special assessments when we have these events happen. So we added that into our purpose of the policy. And as we are scrolling down here, we also changed the wording here. The general fund reserve was to be equal to 2 months of discretionary general fund revenues. And if you go further down into the document, it does define discretionary general fund revenues as basically non-tax generated revenues. And so we wanted to reword that to say the total budgeted general fund revenues. So that was very clear. We want the policy to be a percentage of what we budget for general fund revenues. So we added that verbiage in. One of the big changes here again is that we added a policy floor and a policy target. Originally, we just said the policy was to maintain 2 months of balance, but we've actually given ourselves a range here to say we would like to maintain a policy floor, not to go below 2 months of fund balance, but we want to target the town to maintain 4 months of fund balance. And as we go further down here, we have the different reasons why we set aside these funds. So this is a great tool for you as you're talking to citizens and they want to know why we have fund balance stored up. This is your section right here. So one of them is economic uncertainty. And so we've listed in here that the town revenues is highly dependent on consumer-driven revenue versus real estate and personal property taxes, and that adequate unassigned fund balance will allow the town to be prepared for the rises and falls in those revenue and help mitigate tax increases for our citizens. We also go into that we have an emergency reserve. So when unplanned natural disasters or unforeseeable emergencies, kind of like the COVID-19 pandemic happen, we have these reserves on hand to pay the costs, and we're not unable to buy things that we need to buy because we didn't have the cash reserve stored up. So that's another reason. And then the next one is working capital. So the town has a low revenue collection during the first 6 months of the year, but our revenue, or excuse me, our expenditures are fairly consistent. We continue to pay payroll, which is our largest expense. We also have other regular ongoing expenses such as electricity, and we pay ourselves water for the general fund. So we want to maintain an adequate level of this fund balance so that we can keep our spending consistent through the first 6 months of the year rather than have to institute spending freezes because we don't have enough cash on hand, or to have to give departments more stringent guidelines, such as you can only spend during this month of the year. And then we added in here that the appropriate level of general fund reserves shall be reviewed annually each year during budget preparation. So the only real change here is specifying at what point. Okay, and then we go into use of the reserve funds. And we talk about that economic uncertainty is slowdown in our local economic conditions. And we talk here about if for some reason we have a big event and our fund balance dips below 2 months, which we've established as the policy floor, we will be allowed to restore that in subsequent budget years or multi-year period if it's more than 10% drop. So it's now less than 10% of our general fund budgeted revenues. So hopefully that never happens, but we did try to plan for that event. If it does happen, here's how we have to refund our fund balance. And then we talk here about emergency reserves, that it's allowed to be used for these emergencies, and the town manager can do an appropriation of these funds, but then they need to take it to town council at the next available meeting. And then the last portion here, we have limited the town treasurer to transfer a total of $1 million during the year to meet expenditures. And based on how we're operating, I did recommend a reword of this, that we use a pooled cash method, meaning that I don't separate the fund balance into a separate account and say, okay, this is fund balance, we're not going to touch this. We kind of keep cash and fund balance as two separate things. So what we would like to recommend is updating this to say the town uses a pooled cash method of accounting, which accounts for the funds separately on the general ledger, but allows the cash balances to be combined in banking institutions for ease of use and or higher interest earnings. And the town treasurer may use the unassigned fund balance during the year to provide adequate cash flow for expenditure needs during the low periods of revenue collection, or to account for reimbursable expenditures such as grants. And it says if it's not enough, so if we have a grant that is $3 million and we only have 1.2 million in fund balance, that we'll have to work with those departments impacted to say, okay, we need a cash flow plan, or we need another method to fund these because we don't have enough fund balance on hand. So we spelled that out here in the policy. And then at the end of each fiscal year, we still have in here that it would be reported to the town council with the annual audit. And then the last thing here is we have listed in the policy that in conjunction with this, we would like to evaluate a fund balance policy for our utility fund as well. I went ahead and struck that from this policy because I think that's a great comment, but it doesn't necessarily need to be in the policy, and we can go ahead and start working on that to implement in the next budget year or the year after. And that is all the red line changes on the current policy. Again, this is a briefing, so we will take action on this at the next meeting, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Okay. Thank you, Ann. Certainly appreciate that briefing. Council, you have any questions or comments? As usual, Ann does a very thorough job. We certainly appreciate it.
Okay, Mayor Gross, so we're going to transition into the items requiring action while I give Ann just a quick moment to catch her breath, because she has the next three items. As you can tell, we like our financial projects in town. So again, the next three items are items requiring action, and I will turn it back over to Ann, and she can progress through those. And then I'll take the last one under this section this evening. Go ahead, Ann. Thank you.
Thank you. And I will try to keep these relatively short because we were briefed on these on March 2nd. The first one is a resolution that would authorize the town manager to sign an amendment to our contract with Avenue Enterprise Solutions. This is the agreement that we have with them to host our enterprise resource software. This is what we use for accounting, HR, any of those functions across the town. This is what was our AS400 system that we had locally, and we signed this agreement in 2013, and now it's via basically a VPN. We connect to it, and it's stored in an IBM machine in Texas. But what this agreement will allow us to do is to continue that contract so we can access our information. This is especially important as we are migrating to a new software company to make sure we have access to our legacy data during this conversion. So happy to answer any questions that you have. Staff would recommend a motion to adopt the resolution.
Okay, council, any questions, comments? All right, if not, you have before you a resolution that would in fact approve the adoption as described by Ann. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution presented.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Vice Mayor McCarty, a second by Councilmember Lyles. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mellons,
Mute, Lori.
sorry,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes. Resolution passes. So back to Ann or Pete.
Sure, thank you. So the next item is also an item that was briefed on March the 2nd. This would be a consideration of a resolution that would appropriate $35,000 from fund balance to the utility fund special projects expense. And this is for a change order that we received on the Glade Creek sewer line relocation related to rock charges. And so we have spelled out in here that the resolution would move this $35,000 and it would allow us to actually pay the vendor who is waiting on the check. So we do request council to consider a motion to adopt the resolution. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Council, any questions or comments? Nope. You have before your resolution that would approve the $35,000 in change orders for the, I think that's called a rock clause, right, Jeremy? Very, very important to the contractors. If there's no questions or comments, I would like to mention one thing. Here again, Ann has mentioned we have already been briefed on these things, so council understands what's going on here. And with that, if there are no questions or comments, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve.
All right.
I'll second.
All right, we have a motion by Councilmember Mullins, second by Vice Mayor McCarty. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, resolution passes.
All right, Mayor, I believe I have one more item for you to consider, and I will put this up on the screen because there's a couple components of this. So at the council retreat on March 5th, we briefed town council on available current year revenue and unrestricted fund balance that we could utilize to complete several capital improvement items. We also mentioned in here that our general fund policy, or our current general reserve policy, allows appropriation from town council for this specific use. One thing I do want to mention in this is we reviewed it at the finance committee at our last meeting, and it does not include the PTO component. So that will actually be a separate item that we would bring to you later. This is just on the capital improvement items that we could get started on right away. And so the current year projects include several municipal building improvements, such as window replacement, HVAC replacement, parking lot repaving, lighting upgrade, furniture and equipment upgrade. It also includes many projects to Clearview traffic signal is a big one. It also includes Hardy Road repaving, Ishmael delivery, Glade Creek stream bank stabilization, and an additional $285,000 would add to our fund balance, or add to our capital fund balance for next year that we could utilize. We're planning on doing a contribution of $550,000. So this 285 would add on top of that for projects that we could complete. And I know Town Manager, Mr. Peters, is here to step in. Any questions or comments that you have on this, we would ask you to consider a motion to adopt this resolution. This would allow staff to go ahead and get started on these projects right away.
Okay, thank you. And there again, council received quite a bit of information at our recent retreat on our CIP projects. So council, any comments, questions? This is great that we can get started.
I was going to say it's a tough position to be in, but I'm sure I'm here. I'd be to approve this resolution.
Okay, great. So I think I heard a motion for approval by Councilman Lyles. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Oh, sorry.
Both will.
Uh, Okay, I think the second I heard first was Vice Mayor McCarty. I'm about to get in trouble here. I
No.
am. Okay, Susan, please call the roll. Get me out of trouble here.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, resolution passes.
Yay.
Thank you, Ann. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Gross and members of council. And thank you, Ann, for all those presentations. You do an excellent job on those. And it tends to be that you have a lion's share of presentations most evenings. So thanks for your work. Mr. Mayor, the last item under items requiring action this evening, I have for you as a member of the town's representative, as the town's representative on the Roanoke Valley Resource Authority's Board of Directors. I have before you this evening a resolution to authorize the town manager to execute a support agreement that would enable the Roanoke Valley Resource Authority to obtain financing to proceed with phase 3 of their facility and modification improvement program. This program will essentially allow the authority to improve their direct truck access for vehicles moving refuse to the Smith Gap Regional Landfill and provide some much needed site improvements and modifications to the Tinker Creek Transfer Station. In particular, the Tinker Creek Transfer Station modifications are important to the town because they will maintain the town's ability to direct haul our refuse collected from our citizens and our businesses directly to the transfer station and provide the most efficient service delivery possible. As a member of the member locality of the Resource Authority, along with Roanoke County, the City of Salem, and the City of Roanoke, each member has been asked to consider this support agreement, and this agreement will act as a moral obligation pledge for the Resource Authority's application for financing through the Virginia Resource Authority in the amount of $10 million for these improvements. I did present this item to the Finance Committee meeting on March 11th, and it's their recommendation to bring it to the full town council tonight for your consideration. And again, I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have on this. As I said, our fellow local governments are all taking this, this action who are member agencies of the Resource Authority. But I would respectfully request council to consider the resolution to authorize the town manager to execute the support agreement for RVRA. Thank you.
Okay, Pete, thank you very much. And I understand that our attorney has already seen this. Is that right, Jeremy?
Yes, sir. I have taken a look at it, and there is some flexibility built into the resolution because VRA has not necessarily signed off on the final agreement. So there may be some amendments, but the resolution gives Pete the ability to agree to those changes.
Awesome, awesome, great, great. Council, you have any questions or comments?
Pete, you said this is for phase 3, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, is that the final phase, or is that just, because I think we were at phase 1, went to phase 2, went back to phase 1, back to phase 2, now back to phase 3. Just curious if there was going to be a phase 4, 5, and 6 before this.
I am aware that there may be a phase 4, which would provide some, perhaps some fiber to the Smith Gap landfill down the road, and also perhaps some utility connections for the removal of methane. There may be like a direct connect collection site if should we find a customer willing to purchase that. So that again may be some additional phases down the road, but I certainly can't rule it out. This is the big one. This piece, phase 3, is some significant improvements, obviously, with the amount of financing they're seeking.
Technically, it's going back to phase 1.
If you say so.
I'm looking forward to it being phased out, to be honest.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Okay.
Thanks for the clarification.
You good there, Keith, then? You got it?
Thanks.
All right. Council, any other questions, comments? If not, we'll entertain a motion for approval of the resolution that Pete just described.
I'll make a motion to approve the resolution.
Thank you, Lori. We have a motion by Councilmember Mullins. Is there a second?
I'll second.
All
We need
right.
it. We need it done.
Yes, sir.
Whatever.
You're
fate,
right.
we Need it done.
Yes, sir. Get her done. Thank you. So we have a second by Councilmember Lyles. Susan, please call the roll.
Councilmember Lyles,
Yes.
Councilmember Mullins,
Yes.
Vice Mayor McCarty,
Yes.
Mayor Gross.
Yes, resolution passes. Thank you, council. Any
Thank you.
updates?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a few for you. Some of these I provided to you via email, but I did want to mention a couple for the good of those maybe tuning in. Nathan and the Planning and Zoning Office have approved a permit authorizing Bird scooters to operate within the town limits. These are the little e-scooters that you may have been seeing in Roanoke. We have yet to see them appear. As you recall, we did put together a policy well over a year ago as a result of some state legislation requiring localities to do such. So we were prepared. We had the policy in place and it had been discussed by council quite a few occasions. And so when this application came through, we were prepared and Nathan did a good job of working with Bird Scooters to get them underway. So they have paid the fee as I understand it. Nathan, do you have anything to add on that particular item?
The only thing I have to add is Debbie Adams with the Vin Messenger is going to produce she's been working with Bird Scooters PR department and is going to produce an article in the Vin Messenger to teach people how to properly park them and use them. There's quite a bit of rules that accompany them, but like I said, I think we were really prepared for this, and this is the first operator, so we'll see how it goes this time.
Well, thank you, Nathan, and thank you, Debbie, for that assistance. We have provided some information on our website and Facebook account as well. The second item, project update, is just wanted to mention to council that Ann is monitoring very closely the guidance that's being provided on the potential for this second round of CARES Act funding. There's more information coming out each day. We're starting to get a little trickle of how it may impact the town. So we'll be certain to keep town council apprised of the situation once timing and dollar amounts and all that has been finalized. But stay tuned for that. I wanted to announce and congratulate Chief Drummond. He was recently applying for a grant through Department of Criminal Justice Services. They were the recipient of $14,120 in grant funding for recruitment and retention for police officers. So that funding just came to be. I think we applied before the first of the year, if I'm not mistaken, Chief, and we were just pleased to receive those funds not too long ago, if I'm not mistaken. Chief, you have anything to add on that item?
Yes, sir. This funding source came from late last year from Governor Northen's office and directed towards DCJS to allocate funds through departments throughout the Commonwealth. And of course, our department was awarded $14,120. And how that source is, it's directed towards both recruiting and retention aspect. So it's really up to the locality and the police department predominantly to determine what that recruiting and retention aspect is and what it looks like to us and sort of divvy out that appropriately.
Thank you, Chief.
All right.
Great work. Did the chief get to go home?
No, sir. I'm in Richmond.
Oh, so you're not.
Yeah,
Oregon never gets to go home.
No, he doesn't. Also wanted just to, and I'm sure each of you are aware, but Senate Bill 1157 was signed by the governor, and this is the bill that moves our town elections, requires them to be held in November. So we'll be taking action in the next upcoming council meetings to formalize that through ordinance update. And the good news is a couple of you will get to stay on a few extra months when the next election comes around. Until we have the next election from, I guess we extend it from May to November. But we'll share more details with you as that gets closer. I just wanted to remind everyone about the State of the Town address. As you know, this year we postponed that address from December until further in the spring to see if we could actually do it in person. We finally had to make the decision that didn't appear to be possible. So we made a difficult decision to go virtual, and we plan to present this year's State of the Town address in a virtual manner, where we'll host it on our website, provide links via social media and email to our typical invitation recipients and just the general public who wishes to see it. The mayor recorded his narration last week with RBTV. So RBTV is producing the event for us this year. So we anticipate the production value to be quite good. Contain a lot of video as opposed to still photography, which we've done in the past. But I will say Mayor Gross did an excellent job last week recording his narration. And even the folks at RBTV acknowledged how seamless it was when he read his piece, and it was about 35 to 40 minutes. Now, that will be edited down some once they put it with the content of the video, but I really look forward to sharing that with the council as well as the citizens and businesses in our community. We have slated the date of March 25th to release that virtually. We're still waiting to get that confirmation from RBTV as they're doing their final edits, but we'll keep council and the media up to date on that.
Also,
and then,
glad to hear that the mayor kept it brief.
Yeah. Hey, when they take out all the mistakes, it'll be like 10 minutes, you know?
I tell you, it wasn't one take, but it was really close to 35-minute one take. It was amazing. And Susan can back me up on that. It was really incredible.
It's awesome.
Well, all I had to do was read it. You know, Pete and Susan did a lot of work on that, and I want to thank them. They really put together a lot of really great information. So anyone that's interested in the town of Vinton, it's worth watching. I know you guys will just be chomping at the bits to see that, but seriously, there's a lot of great information. They did a great job. So thank you, Pete and Susan, for working on that. Appreciate it.
Well, it really kind of wrapped everything up for a pretty difficult year, but it showed how much the team came together and how much staff was able to accomplish, how much even the businesses and the citizens responded. So really looking forward to sharing that with everyone here in the next couple of weeks. And then the last item, and I'll turn it back over to the mayor, is I just wanted to thank council for the retreat a couple of weeks ago. That was really enjoyable for me. And appreciate your time there and your guidance and your feedback. And I just wanted to acknowledge all of the work of the staff who helped prepare for that, Susan and Ann and Donna, and likewise, everyone did a wonderful job pulling together. It was a lot of information boiled down to maybe 3 hours. So, but just wanted to acknowledge the time that you provided to us and the guidance you gave us and the authorization to move forward on some projects. It's a pretty exciting time. And that is all I have this evening. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. Lots of good information there. Really appreciate all those updates and reports. And with that, we'll move on to our reports from the council committees. And I think Ann's going to have our financial report. Please.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, so we have the Finance Committee report. We actually met on, I believe it was the 11th of last week. We had a really great meeting. Here's some of the items of our discussion. A lot of them were items that we actually had on our agenda tonight. So we discussed the Chamber Illuminates budget resolution, the scrap metal budget resolution, the capital projects budget resolution, the general fund reserve policy, the January 2021 financial statements, the RVRA moral obligation, and we also talked about a debt per capita comparison. And so going right into our January 2021 financial statements, our revenues are still performing great. They're at 118% of our budget expectations. Our expenditures are at 84%. So we're coming in high on revenues and we're coming in low on our expenditures. The grant fund is 38% and 38%, which is right on track to where we would think it would be. The utility fund is 115% of revenue budget expectation and 101% of expenditure budget expectation. So our expenditures are a little bit higher than the 100%, but the revenues are still outpacing at 115. The capital fund revenue is at 17% of budget and the expenditures are at 53% of budget. Some of the transfers that we did will true this up and make that correct. And then the stormwater is at 100% of budget expectations and our expenditures are at 78% of budget expectations. So we're underspending again there as well. And then when we take a look at cash for January 2021, our general fund cash is at 2.4 million. Grant fund cash is negative 199,000 or just under 200,000. Our utility fund cash is 1.5 million. Capital fund cash is 215,000. Stormwater fund cash is 107,000. So total cash across all of our funds is just over $4 million. Restricted cash is 509,000. And our police evidence fund has 26,000 as of January. The general fund investment account is 2.3 million. Our utility fund investment account is 980,000. So total investments are at 3.3 million. And if you do cash and investments together, we are at 7.3 million for January. And so we wanted to talk about some of the other items. The Chamber Illuminates was on the consent agenda tonight. This is just a budget resolution moving the money down to where it was spent. For scrap metal, very similar. This is moving the scrap metal revenue down to the expenditure line item for building maintenance for public works. And that was also on the consent agenda tonight. The capital projects budget resolution was discussed and that was also acted on tonight. The general fund reserve policy was a council briefing tonight and the RVRA moral obligation was a council action item tonight. And the last item on the agenda we wanted to kind of bring to your attention was the debt per capita comparison. And this is something that had come out of our retreat that we wanted to see where we currently rank versus other towns on debt per capita. So I took information from the APA Transmittal and I put it into a chart here for you so that you could see where we currently fall. So out of 35 towns that reported to the APA, we were ranked 30th for debt per capita. And we had just over $11 million in net balance outstanding with our population of 8,083, our per capita is 1,363. And I also wanted you to see there some of the other, like the highest town, Percival, has 6,287 per capita. And then the lowest town is Smithfield, they have 840 per capita. And then the next thing we wanted to show you is where would we rank after the debt issuance that we approved tonight. So we would go up on the chart, but we're still actually on the bottom half compared to towns across Virginia. So we would go to spot 23, which is just underneath Bluefield. And that would take our debt up to just over 15 million. And if you do the math, the per capita would be 1,901. And so that is our presentation for tonight. We do need a motion to approve the January financial statements, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
Brad, I think you're muted.
Here.
Okay, how about that?
There you go.
Is that a little better or is that a little worse? Now you can hear me, that might be worse. Debbie does that to me all the time. But anyhow, I just wanted to comment on the indebtedness per capita. I think that's really great news. You know, that's certainly an indication of good management. And I just was really excited to see that we were that far down on the list. So again, really good news. And I appreciate you putting that information together, particularly so quickly. So thank you for that. Very good news. Was there any other comments or questions for Ann?
The
If not,
report still looks good. Looks even better this time seeing it again. And I like the, thanks for the comparisons. That's good to see where we rank and stuff. And even after the new debt we approved tonight. So yeah, good job. Thank you, Ann.
Yeah, she does a great job. Yeah. Any other comments or questions, council? If not, we will entertain a motion to accept the Finance Committee report as presented.
I'll make a motion, Mayor, to accept the report as presented.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilmember Lyles. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and a second by Councilmember Mullins. Susan, do we do a roll call on that or can we just wave?
Voice vote will be fine.
Okay.
You do just a voice vote.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Uh,
Thank you. And now the Public Works Committee, Peter, you going to do that this evening?
Sure. Let's see here. There we go. All right, so Bo Herndon was not able to be with us this evening. He's taking a much needed vacation day. So I'll present an update on a fairly brief Public Works Committee meeting. This was held on March 10th, last Wednesday. Vice Mayor McCarty attended, as well as Councilmember Lyles. Bo Herndon, the recently appointed Public Works Director, and Jill Acker, his assistant. So the first item was bulk collection update. Jill and Bo did provide the committee with a graph that showed various collection data points from the bulk collection for a snapshot of 3 months before we converted to bi-weekly bulk, as well as 3 months after we transitioned to bulk. And then we added some data collection points starting in January. So we added a little bit more that we're collecting from the driver so that we could, this is comprised of phone calls, the actual amount of stops that the driver makes on a daily basis, the tonnage that is collected. So it was a lot of information, and it did provide us with some good kind of trends, showing that when we went into the pandemic initially, I think everyone went into, well, I've got time on my hands. Let's clean out the basement. Let's clean out the spare bedroom. Let's clean out the attic, because our tonnage went through the roof. This was both in household collection as well as bulk. That tended to pare down a little bit and level off as the summer went on. And then in August, we did make the change to go to bi-weekly bulk collection. And then again, we saw a little bit of a spike, but that's because we were picking it up only every other week. And the phone calls really, we received some phone calls periodically throughout the time that we changed, but by and large, it wasn't really a considerable new amount of call volume, very consistent, similar calls that we experienced before. And then as folks got used to the new schedule, we updated the calendar. We got that information out prior to the new year starting. We've even seen a remarkable reduction in the amount of phone calls we're getting in the Public Works office, and visual evidence that folks out in the community have picked up on the biweekly schedule, and we see very few instances where biweekly is out on the wrong week. So we feel like it's going in the right direction. No indication at this point we need to make a change of course, and we're going to continue to plan to collect bulk on a biweekly basis, and we'll continue to monitor it. We do plan to offer a couple of clean out weeks so that we'll provide some extra bulk collection, maybe do 2 trucks for a couple of weeks, and we'll promote that ahead of time. We're planning to perhaps do our first one this spring in May. as the temperatures warm up and before folks start going on summer vacations, perhaps we'll get some participation in that. We'll likely do another one in the fall. And then all as we do all years, we do extra bulk collection around the Christmas holidays for all the Amazon boxes and packaging materials that are required. And again, people have a little free time on their hands and sometimes make room for all the new toys that they received.
Yeah.
The second item we discussed was the refuse operational adjustment update. And so we just provided the members of the committee back in January, we transitioned away. We're notifying residents of refuse violations. So we're tagging the violators more frequently, and council updated an adjustment to the ordinance, laying out the process for tagging and how we notify the citizens. And then we'd actually fine residents who had more than 3 violations in a calendar year. And that's going extremely well. So we've had very few tags been written, and we have, to my knowledge, no repeat offenders. So it's been very small numbers. The first several weeks we had maybe as many as you can count on the hand, just a fair few. And again, I think we've had 30, if I'm not mistaken, maybe Keith and Sabrina can remind me. I think we've had perhaps 30 some violations written since January 4th. So very few really to consider. And it seems to be working extremely well. So again, we'll continue to monitor this as we move forward and make any additional updates that we might need. But I've discussed it with the staff who actually collect the service, as well as the admin staff who receive those phone calls. And it seems that it's going fairly well. So we'll continue to monitor and update as we need. That was really all we discussed. It was a fairly short meeting, probably less than an hour in total. And we did set our next meeting for May 12th at 8:30 a.m. And unless Vice Mayor McCarty or Council Member Lyles have anything to add, I think that would conclude my report.
The only thing I got to add, thanks for that update, Pete, because during that meeting, once Bo mentioned that he was working on the Clearview light, I lost every train of thought whatsoever. And I didn't that update that you just gave us. So thanks so much for that. So no.
Yeah, you're more than welcome. And just for the group, go to the group. We did get our final bids in for the Clearview light, and we signed an agreement with a contractor to start that implementation. So it's going to take probably 4 to 5 weeks to get the equipment in. And I would say sometime maybe May, you'll start seeing some activity on site, and we'll communicate that once we have more of a firm date, so citizens will know. But we'll start seeing some apparatus changed out there and some equipment. So I know that's a long time coming, and certainly a much needed project.
It is. Well, we will all be glad to see that thing fixed. Pete, pardon me, Keith, we want you to use that thing 2 or 3 times a day.
Yeah, I may just go sit there one day and just sit on the side.
Oh my goodness! Now that is good news.
Donuts and sit on the corner
Yeah,
and have a good time.
Christmas in July. I'll just watch the lights.
Oh man! But seriously, that is an important project. So believe me, we're all glad to see that one come along for a lot of reasons. Thank you.
Well, with that, all jokes aside, but with the new tenants coming to Kroger's and in that area, people will be using that entrance and exit a lot more, even more so than they are now. So it'll be much needed.
Yeah, no kidding. You're exactly right. Okay, Pete, thank you for that report. And I don't need a motion to accept that report.
No, sir.
Didn't think so. Okay. Thank you. Okay, just a couple of brief things under the mayor's section tonight. First of all, I just wanted to kind of give the Clean Valley Day an extra shout out. As we heard earlier in the council meeting, that's scheduled for April 10th. And it's a really important day in town. We've got a couple of areas that could stand some attention. And, we spend a lot of money, a lot of our time and effort toward making our town look good. So this is an opportunity to take care of an important detail. It's also an opportunity for our citizens to get involved. And so I think, or I hope a lot of folks will consider coming out and helping that day. It's just a really important day for our town. I also want to thank, I mentioned it earlier, so I'll just be brief. I want to thank Susan and Pete. Pete really worked hard. Well, both of them worked hard on the state of the town address, and I certainly appreciate all the great work they did. As I mentioned, they put a lot of information into that because we have a lot going on. I mean, we're really busy in town, a lot of good things. Pete mentioned the retreat earlier. I also want to bring that up because I want to thank council for setting aside the time to do that. Our council members are always busy, so it's sometimes difficult to schedule that. But this year it worked out really well. It was compact, and we got through a lot of really important and good information. And so I want to thank staff for the great job that they did for putting that together. I mean, the whole meeting flowed really well, and there was certainly no lost time, and it was just a really good retreat. We've, as Pete mentioned in one of our conversations, he has set the bar pretty high for any future retreats because that one worked so well. So, yeah. Well, thanks staff for getting that organized properly. And Debbie, thank you for the articles. You do a great job in council covering the council meeting, and in particular, I'm looking forward to the information you'll be providing on the scooters. I think that'll be valuable for our citizens to know exactly what's going on. So thank you folks for all the good hard work. Things are going well. And with that, I will turn it over to council. So Vice Mayor, you have any closing remarks for this evening?
I do have two. I want to mention the Vinton Breakfast Lions Club. They did the bland competition again this year, which is with its musicians. You had singers, piano players, other instruments that were played. I think they had 13 contestants this year. They had 4 judges and then 3 finalists, and those finalists will go on to the next level, and providing how far they excel in that, there is a possibility that they could win a scholarship. So it's something very good that the Vinton Breakfast Lions Club participates in. It's well received in the area, and I'm proud to be a part of that. I helped Chris with doing that, but Chris is the president this year, and he did start that in the area. So I just wanted to give him a shout out. Also wanted to thank Pete for coming to the Lions Club meeting the other day and explaining some of the exciting things that are going on in town. There's a lot of gentlemen in that group, and they tend to get things mixed up sometimes and don't get the right information. So I was glad to have Pete there to get them the right information. So when they go to talk at all these places, they know what they're talking about. Anyway, thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. And you're right. The Breakfast Lions Club does a great job. We even mentioned in the State of the Town address, they're like the epitome of a citizens organization. They're a great community asset, no doubt. And with that, we'll move on to Councilmember Lyles. Do you have anything further this evening?
I don't, Mayor, other than echo everything that you said, and Sabrina with the I like the not saying that that's the group, but I've also heard a lot of times that we paid that $1 million that we paid for the meal back a few years ago, and it jumped up from 1,000 to 1 million overnight.
That's right.
Yeah, so, yeah,
We're gonna take a Ford tour down there too, Keith, when all this is said and done. We're gonna take a Ford tour in our $1 million building.
we'll tell you about them now. But yeah, thanks Pete for keeping everybody all on the same page, and with you and with Debbie Adams helping. It is nice when everybody knows exactly what's going on and not rumors are flying around everywhere. So,
Yeah.
and really, other than that, Mayor, I just want to thank everyone for the thoughts and kind words during my family's loss. And, like I said before, getting through it, and we will get through it, and just know that, our mother-in-law is in a lot better place now. So thanks again for the continued thoughts and prayers.
You betcha. Thank you, sir. I tell you what, that's going to be $1 million building. Going to be more than that. It's going to be worth a lot more than that. That's for sure. Actually, I think we paid like 127,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
So the $1 million is off quite a bit, but it's going to be $1 million building. That's for sure. Oh my goodness. Okay, Councilmember Mullins, do you have anything further this evening?
I just second everything that everybody said. The retreat was great, and it was good to see everybody in person again. And thank you, Ann, for those thorough reports as usual, and explains stuff to me that I didn't think I'd ever understand, and I really do, and I appreciate that. And as usual, the staff did a wonderful job. Thank you, Pete, for keeping us all on the same page and in line most of the time. And I mean, that's your hardest job. That's the hardest part of the job.
Oh yeah.
So that's it. I don't know about you guys, but that losing 1 hour is about to kill me, and it's only the third.
Me too.
Oh my goodness.
Hey, Mayor.
Well,
One last thing real quick before you go, and Pete, talked about Bo needed a much needed vacation and all. Does the chief get any of those at all?
Right.
Oh. He did not negotiate that in his contract. So.
Oh man. Oh man.
Is it too late to add something on?
Too late. No, anything further to come before council this evening?
While you're up there, Chief, find us another grant.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, we like that. I tell you what, we got a powerful staff, and they're doing a really, really good job. And that's one reason that these council meetings are so much fun. And I mean, we get a lot done, but our staff is just doing a great job. So it makes these council meetings a lot more fun. That's for sure. So, all right, anything further come before council meeting this evening? Folks, thank you for me stumbling all over my cold medicine here this evening. I appreciate that. If there's nothing further, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, I heard a motion and a second. All in favor signify by turning off their computers. Thank you, folks. God bless you.
Good night.